Yep. The show's mid.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
How am I supposed to drink this thing with my mask on?
Well, back from the grave and on that Fallout grind, am I? So, the Fallout TV show dropped a while ago, and I've heard a lot of things about it. A lot of mixed and controversial things. But during my hiatus, I haven't seen the show for myself until now. Not even little funny haha clips of it.
Chickens.
So something for this video I did was go in completely spoilerless when watching the show. Well, not completely. I did see people complaining about how the show totally writ out New Vegas from the canon, despite that was a complete and utter lie.
Thank you!
So here I am to make a video about my own biased thoughts about this long-awaited piece of radioactive media. Cause it's that, or make another video about Fallout 76 and the updates that happened over my absence from YouTube. From what I heard, it's gotten a map expansion, and also my theory about the Battle Paps weapons from my last video became right!
Oh no.
Out of all the things I had foresight for in my Fallout 76 video, this was it.
An abundance of trinkets for sale, available for your perusal.
Crispy critters. What the fuck are you doing?
Before I start glowing plutonium orange from another thing that's not even in the show, let's get into the first episode, shall we? The beginning of the Fallout show begins with the end. Honestly, the series starts out great with its first opening scene being in pre-war USA right before the bombs dropped. Everything in this opening scene in the first episode is absolutely perfect. It's set at some girl's birthday party with this cowboy dude performing lasso tricks, with a lot of atmospheric shots and setting up the mood with everybody having a good time. Then we cut to the birthday girl and cowboy dude talking about his time in the military, referencing the thumbs up Fallout Zone test myth that everybody knows about thanks to Vault Boy. And then, it happens. We get complete and utter silence, and right then and there, in the distance, the bombs are going off. Everybody running for their lives, trampling over each other for their own safety. The Great War has begun. Cut the title card. Now this is how you start up a series. The build-up that happens here is incredible, and that quiet before the storm bit really sets up the tone and mood here. They put their best into this whole beginning scene for the show. If only I could say that for the rest of the show, though. I know that was cliche, but don't worry, it doesn't get that bad yet. 219 years later, we're introduced to Vault 33 and one of the main characters of the show, Lucy McLean,
My name is Lucy McLean.
with her introducing herself, her skills, and what she does around the vault.
My reproductive organs are intact.
This is all for her to ask her higher-ups to participate in a triennial trade with Vault 32 to shortly get approved right after. Alright, introduction of a character, so far so good. Then right after this scene, we cut to Lucy getting ready for a pre-selected wedding. Like, wow, that was fast. You already slapped me with some whiplash right there. Also, look at this Vault-Tec priest over here. Like, out of all the things they confirmed in this show, Vault-Tec branded Christianity.
Bible.
After the overseers of Vault 31 and 32 have a little talk about some past stuff, we get right into the wedding. There was also a bit about cousins and something about a sexual relationship. What?
Take some time to fix. Probably best if we reschedule with the 32s until maintenance and I can.
Jet, what's going on?
Lucy, I love you.
We all know that, Jet. Messing around with your cousin, it's all well and good for kids, but it's not a sustainable long-term sexual practice, you know?
Huh?
Anyways, after this guy named Monty and Lucy get married, one of the overseers, her father by the way, gives a speech about going up to the surface and getting outside the vault to fix up the world and whatever. Right after, cutting to everybody having a slow dance and just a good old time at the wedding. After the dance, Lucy and Monty are back in their room and we get an unnecessary sex scene.
I didn't need to see that.
Also during this scene, we cut to another vault dweller snooping around Vault 32 and noticing that something isn't right here. A lot of unfortunate events, if you will. Also, Monty isn't a vault dweller, he's a raider, and beats the living stuffing out of Lucy.
That was terrible.
Luckily for Lucy, an alarm distracts him and then she gives him a glass bottle shank to the neck. Now Lucy has to find a way to escape the vault and fast. The halls are being swarmed with raiders left and right. Dudes being shot, dudes being stabbed. Again, great action scene here. Like, man, this show has some good camera work here. Later on, Lucy's father saves her from Monty, who surprisingly wasn't killed off earlier so they can escape the vault, only for the two to get confronted by the raiders who are about to blow up the door to Vault 32. Lucy's father is given a choice of his daughter's life or the lives of some vault dwellers, so instead he sacrifices himself being a willing hostage, with this scene ending with Lucy being locked in a janitor's closet and, well,
Everyone survives this.
Then we cut to our second main character, Maximus, learning how to be a squire in a series poster boy group, the Brotherhood of Steel. The poor dude wants to be a knight, but barely gets to see any field action. Also, in this establishing scene, why did we need a shot of a dude gooning?
Nasty-ass bastard!
Then our Finn Star Wars clone over here gets framed for pulling a razor blade boot prank on one of his bunkmates, getting him in some real big trouble. Then we cut right back to Lucy in the vault, with everyone fixing up the place right after the raid. Lucy wants to make a plan to find and rescue her dad, but she only gets turned down by the other higher-ups that are still alive.
They don't want to find Dad. If they did, they wouldn't get to be in charge.
So despite what the higher-ups say, Lucy and her friends find a way to get out of the vault so Lucy can find her father herself. A plotline where the main character needs to go on a quest to save their father. Where have I heard that one before?
No!
Anyways, back to Maximus. The dude is getting talked down to for what happened earlier, along with us getting more background about how he was raised by the Brotherhood when he was a kid. In this scene, Max says he didn't do the razor blade thing, but for some dumb reason he said he wanted it to happen.
I didn't do it. I did not. I wanted it to happen. Is that wrong?
Yes!
After getting more talked down to, Maximus does a little speech about how he wants to help out the Brotherhood even if it would cost his own life. And since what happened over here with this tomboy character who I could not remember the name of, not being able to walk, Maximus gets her place and assigned to this knight dude named Titus. We also get a scene of Titus branding Maximus over here with the back of a T-60's hand.
That's racist.
After that, we get a lore dump of how somewhere out there in the wasteland there's an Enclave member who's on the run, and in his possession he has a mythical MacGuffin. So of course the Brotherhood will be on high alert to track down this guy immediately. So after a cool vertebrate takeoff scene, we cut to the last main character of the series. And he's already a little bit dead until these fine gentlemen over here help him out by digging him up from the ground. This guy over here is the Ghoul, the cool bounty hunter badass character in the series.
Chickens.
These three blokes over here want Ghoul's help trying to track down that Enclave dude to get that big old cash reward. Yeah, the Brotherhood ain't the only ones that know about this guy's existence. After some back and forth, these three fellows think it's a good idea to threaten a guy who doesn't have a nose on his face. And it goes just so well for all of them.
Chickens.
I honestly thought the first episode was good, despite the pointless sex scene and the gooning shot. That intro bit with the bombs falling was absolutely amazing, and it does a good job itself by setting up all the characters without wasting any time. Lucy's a perky vault dweller who wants to help out people and just find her father. Maximus is a Brotherhood squire who just wants to help his own people. And the Ghoul being the cool badass bounty hunter character. To repeat myself, I think the first episode was alright. Along with the two other ones being pretty decent, except for the issue I had with Maximus and Ghoul's fight scene in episode 2. How does Ghoul take multiple shots in the back and not even flinch, let alone kick a dude in power armor and make said power armor users stagger? Like, dude, your foot should be powder at that point. You just kicked a dude in a hydraulic tank suit, your foot is not getting out of there unscathed. I would go more in depth about episodes 2 and 3, but I just think they're alright episodes. I don't really have that much to say about them that doesn't go into nitpicking. Like the satellite in this scene being from the USSR instead of being from communist China. Or me making a dumb argument about the T-60 having thruster arms. So let's cut to where everything starts to go downhill. Episode 4. And despite what I said earlier in this sentence, I actually think that this is the best episode of the show. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. The episode starts out great with Lucy and the ghoul having some good character moments with one another and showing just how tough and horrific the wasteland really is. I mean, we're only a few minutes in and we get the ghoul mice bending another ghoul who was just about to go feral, only from right after shooting him in the head to cannibalize the other ghoul's corpse. Lucy gets real bothered by this, well, due to her being a vault dweller, and the ghoul just replies with,
"Well, Lucy McLean, it ain't all canned peaches and marmalade left up here, sweetheart. Sometimes a fella's gotta eat a fella."
Yummers.
I think this episode does a good job of one of Fallout's major themes, with morality clashing and what horrid thing do we need to do just to survive today. And later on, after some Vault 33 scenes, Lucy's not doing so hot, and gets to the point where she has to drink irradiated water.
Ah, you get me. How does that golden rule drive what's going through your head right now?
What are you?
Oh, I'm you, sweetie. You just give it a little time.
What?
Ghoul starts having a coughing fit and Lucy decides to run for it, only meeting up to a big old crater and getting lassoed. After being tangled up, Lucy thinks it's a good idea to try and bite off one of Ghoul's fingers to free herself. That goes nowhere.
Man, my fingers are huge and fat.
And then it starts kicking in. You know, it.
Disgusting!
So right after the scene where Lucy gets her finger cut off, we cut right back to the vault with this guy named Chet and this chick named Stephanie. The two were both grieving about things, Chet losing his job and Stephanie losing her husband, Bert. On a side note, Stephanie's pregnant, and guess what this scene leads into?
Fuck it.
Yep, that's right, a dry-upping sex scene!
Really, nigga?
Who in the writing team thought it was a good idea to have another sex scene in this show? It just feels so wrong, especially in this context. Especially what happens later on in this scene with Stephanie's water breaking at the end of it.
Sodomites and contaminating the FNV community.
One wet
This scene unironically made me feel sick to my stomach. Like, what was the point of this scene? Why?
That's nasty.
So, back to Lucy and the ghoul. Ghoul sells Lucy to a mysterious figure hiding out in a super duper mart for 2 vials of a chem that will keep him from going feral. Lucy is just opposed to this, but Ghoul points his gun at her instead. So with other options, Lucy slowly limps inside and then meets up with a medical Mr. Handy named Snip Snip, who gives her a brand new spanking finger and a medical-induced coma!
I'm going to harvest your organs.
Right after Lucy gets put to sleep, we cut back to the vault, and thank God we don't get another sex scene, but we do get Norm, Lucy's brother, uncovering the secrets of Vault 32 and the real reason why Vault 33 was raided in the first place. Also, shouts to its Ratopia experiment reference. This scene got me interested in what was actually happening in the vault, despite the other one we saw earlier. Anyways, back to Lucy in the Mr. Handy unit. Lucy finally wakes up from her medical-induced nap and finds out that Bill and Ted over here are going to turn her into more antiferal ghoul juice. This chem doesn't have an official name, I'm sorry.
Organs.
But before Snip Snip can live up to his name, Lucy grabs the defibrillator and short-circuits him. As Lucy is trying to escape, she uses Snip as a hostage, only for Bill and Ted not to care, until she holds them at gunpoint with Abraxo-filled syringes.
It's very poisonous.
Bill and Ted let her leave, but she also says, hey, let the ghouls go free too.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you!
They do let some of the ghouls go free, only for Lucy to notice this one grandma-looking ghoul, and that doesn't sit right with her. So after threatening the two with a syringe, they do let the other ghouls go, but whoops. Those were ferals. Well, with being traumatized with the events that just took place right in front of her, Lucy eventually meets the ghoul that she rescued named Martha, and she's not doing too hot.
Martha. My name is Martha. That's right. Your name is Martha.
Just like the other ghoul you saw at the beginning of the episode, you can see that poor old Martha is almost completely feral, struggling to even remember her name. Lucy does try to calm Martha down, but it doesn't work and she goes completely feral at her, leading to Lucy to grab a 10mm pistol and blast Martha out of the air. Despite Martha's death being a little bit goofy with her getting blasted out of the air with a 10mm pistol, I do think that this scene, and a lot of the scenes with Lucy and the Ghoul in this episode, do establish just how fucked the world of Fallout can be at times. Dudes resorting to cannibalism just to survive, drinking disgusting irradiated water, and selling people into slavery. Along with the Vault bits with Norm discovering the secrets of Vault 32 and just how dark Vault 33 really is. Just reminding you that Fallout 76's commercial might be all sunshine and rainbows, but the Fallout series is anything but that.
Don't worry, I wouldn't worry. Lad. Degenerates.
Death, murder, violence, rape, kill.
In a nutshell, this episode establishes that Fallout's world is very, very, very cruel. But it doesn't mean you gotta be cruel. Even at the end bits of the episode, the point gets hammered with Lucy mouthing off at the Ghoul. With all she had to go through today, she still tries to do the right thing and not hurt anybody at the end.
I may end up looking like you. I'll never be like you.
And right after Lucy skedaddles off, we get a funny scene of the Ghoul overdosing on a bunch of chems and then watching a movie he starred in before the Great War happened. And the episode ending with him reflecting on a quote he said in said movie.
There's an old Mexican eulogy. Feo fuerte y formal. Means he was ugly, strong, and had dignity. Well, Joey, I'll give you 2 out of 3 on that front. I hope you like the taste of lead, you common son of a bitch.
Honestly, I thought this was the best episode of the series despite the water-breaking scene.
Disgusting!
Sadly, this is where the keynote ends for me, and then everything quality-wise just goes into a downward spiral. So let's talk about Episode 5. Episode 5 starts with Maximus chatting with his other squire named Thaddeus. I didn't mention it earlier on in the video, but Maximus has been skinwalking as his Knight Titus duty was assigned to earlier on in the show. I barely know why. And right after Maximus brands Thaddeus, and Thaddy has a whole entire talk about how everyone purposely used Maximus as a punching bag back at the barracks, Maximus thinks it's a good idea to reveal himself. And it goes as well as you expected. Thaddeus panics, Maximus thinks it's a good idea to try and kill him, and, well, Thaddeus runs away with a crushed foot.
He did the same joke about 3 times already. I don't think it's funny anymore.
And Maxie over here is stuck in his power armor because Thaddeus stole the fusion core.
Thaddeus! Get back here! Thaddeus! I'll kill you, I swear I'll kill you!
Also, small nitpick. I know that Max is stuck in the power armor to make it so Lucy and him beat up later on, but isn't there like an eject system for power armor or reserved power? In Fallout 4 and 76, if you ran out of power, you would just be stuck walking, a slow crawling walk. Also, the side story of the episode with Vault 33 is that there's an election going on and it might be rigged in favor of Vault 31.
Interesting.
This is also the first episode where Shady Sands gets mentioned and how it fell, along with the NCR getting screwed over. And I mean in a literal sense of mentioned, because they don't even elaborate that much on it. Look, I know what they were trying to do with this scene. One of Fallout's main themes is that history is doomed to repeat itself, nations and societies falling over and over again and whatnot.
I prefer the term autocrat. I would rule as the chief executive. I would not answer to a board of directors or any other entity. Nothing to impede progress. If you want to see the fate of democracies, look out the windows.
Death is a preferable alternative to communism.
And I know when this was happening that Maximus was a child, but this never gets explained in full until the last episode. And trust me, I'll be getting to that later.
Wouldn't you?
All this bit does in episode 5 establishes that the Brother of Steel adopted Maximus after the fall of Shady Sands. Yeah, that's about it lore-wise for this episode with Shady Sands, and I can see why the old fans are really pissed off with it. It just feels like he destroyed a classic location from the old games just to spit at the old fans, even if it wasn't intentional. I also forgot to mention earlier that before the Shady Sands bit, Lucy and Max were trying to cross a bridge, only for them to meet 2 other Wastelanders, and Maximus gets shot. Or is it bitten because Maximus got shot with a bullet that had a tooth inside of it?
I don't know.
So Lucy thinks it's a good idea to find another vault so the two can get patched up from their wounds, leading to the two to get snatched up Scooby-Doo style once they get there. Also, right after this scene, we get back to the Vault 33 conspiracy and how the higher-ups are covering up the horrors of Vault 32. For this episode, I liked what they did with Vault 33, and they actually made it more interesting, showing just how fucked up all this Vault stuff really was. Good job for actually making me interested in what was happening in Vault 33. Anyways, on to the episode's ending, and Lucy and Maximus wake up in a vault and get their wounds patched up. Said vault being Vault 4. Wait, I remember hearing something infamous about Vault 4. Wait. Oh, we're getting to the episode that my comments warned me about. Don't worry, I will definitely be talking about that later, but let's get into episode 6 properly, shall we? Episode 6 starts out with this guy named Cooper Howard doing an advert for Vault-Tec, specifically Vault 4, and how Vault 4 likes to do experiments with DNA.
No, Lloyd and Cassandra here are both scientists, specializing in the effects of radiation on human DNA.
So after everyone's done recording for the advertisement and a reference to how the T-45 in the War of Anchorage is actually doing pretty shit right now.
Oh, I'm very familiar with you guys. You designed the T-45 power arm.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
We cut to a fancy party that Cooper is attending, along with a guest appearance of Codsworth's voice actor. Sorry I'm skipping this scene, but Codsworth and Cooper mostly talk about pre-war drama and how everything's starting to heat up to the Great War, along with how Codsworth's voice is the voice of Mr. Handy. I'm not skipping this scene because I dislike it. No, I actually did like most of the pre-war scenes of the show because it did answer the question of what was life like before the bombs dropped. Something that Fallout 4 didn't really add that much to.
Good morning!
Anyways, enough of this small talking point, let's get back on track, shall we? So, back to the present, and we cut to Ghoul getting his head beaten in for what Lucy did to all those drug traders. Spoiler alert, Cooper's the Ghoul, by the way. Cut to a glow-in-the-dark title, we cut back to Lucy and Maximus getting treated for their wounds, along with the two explaining what happened to them to the Vault 4 staff. Also, just to let you know, this chick over here in the window that's reaffirming Lucy and Maximus that everything's going to be okay and that they found Max's power armor, they're going to fix it up for him, is apparently from Shady Sands.
I don't know if you've been to the surface, but it is not good.
I was born on the surface.
Oh. Sorry, I didn't know. You seem so...
Normal. My mother was a courier. I was 11 and traveled with her to Philly. 3 days walk from home and we could still feel the heat from the blast.
Yeah, one of the gimmicks about Vault 4 is that they're okay with outsiders staying with them. And right after the beginning scene, not even a few minutes into the episode, we get this scene.
You smell good.
What?
Oh. You want to have sex?
Step back, I think I'm gonna vomit!
What did they do to you? What did they do to you? No!
You were the chosen one!
You want to have sex?
No!
That line delivery was so blunt and out of nowhere, I wouldn't be surprised if Vizzy Slop was on the writing staff for this episode. Like what? What was supposed to happen in this scene? Was this supposed to be a joke? What's the joke here? Sex? This scene wasn't even funny in an awkward way. It was just awkward in general. Like, you could have talked about so many different topics in this scene alone, but nope. We need another mention about intercourse in the Fallout series.
The sovereignty of Jesus Christ himself is upon a Bible.
Here's an example of what you could have done in this scene to actually make it not suck. Like, I don't know, since Lucy doesn't know what the Brotherhood of Steel is, maybe make her ask the question of, like, hey, Maximus, what's the Brotherhood of Steel about? And then he gives a very biased explanation of it. You see what I'm saying here? You could have talked about anything else, but nope, you needed this!
You want to have sex?
This scene alone ruins my whole entire liking of Lucy throughout the whole series. Anyways, after this horrible scene, we get a zoom out shot of the room that Lucy and Maximus are in, and giving us some more foreshadowing what the gimmick of Vault 4 is. Later, our main cast are in a cafeteria, and Maximus starts questioning how the Vault is acting kinda cultish with their behavior. Lucy brushes him off due to, well, her thinking that the Vaults are all sunshine and rainbows with her friendly upbringing. This only makes Maximus more suspicious about the Vault. Okay, why does this episode make me like Maximus? We also get introduced to Vault 4's Get it?
This guy stinks!
Despite the sight of the Overseer's eye, he already gives out suspicious vibes when introducing himself, especially with his mention of the forbidden level 12.
Stay out of level 12, obviously.
And soon it gets revealed that he isn't the only mutant in this vault. This vault is full of lab rat beauties. Anyways, back to Nagul and his old pre-war memories of his wife.
Mixed race couple?
Specifically, the family drama Cooper and his wife are facing with her working for Vault-Tec. Cooper doesn't really have a high opinion towards Vault-Tec, and the two have a little squabble about getting a space in one of the vaults.
We have this one life. Do you really want to spend your 9 to 5s working with these assholes?
I need this job, Coop. It guarantees us a spot in the vault.
We've got money. We can buy a spot in the vault.
One of the good vaults.
What's that supposed to mean?
After the scene with Cooper and his wife, we cut later on in the day with Cooper chatting with his friend Charlie over here about how Vault-Tec is a bit dubious.
Okay, so the U.S. government has outsourced the survival of the human race to Vault-Tec. Vault-Tec is a private corporation that has a fiduciary responsibility to make money for its investors. And how does it make money? By selling vaults.
That's called capitalism, Charlie.
But they can't sell vaults if these peace negotiations go through. So Vault-Tec has the fiduciary responsibility to make sure that it don't work out.
Again, as I stated earlier in this video, I do like the pre-war scenes in this episode. It even adds more flavor to what people were feeling about Vault-Tec and what they were doing in the pre-war as well. So after the pre-war memory scenes with Cooper, we cut back to Lucy talking to the Overseer of all 4. We're introduced with subtle xenophobia with his little problem of the Vault's gimmick being bringing in outsiders for a specific purpose.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you won't find anyone more open-minded than me, but they come in here with their smelly food and their weird ideas. You're from a vault, you get it?
I don't understand. If you don't like people from the surface, then why do you keep taking them in?
It's a policy from before my time. But these newcomers, let me tell you, if you want to get elected, you have to respect their traditions and tolerate them and not call them surfies. It's awful.
Based! Along with a little bit more info about the Shady Sands refugees, but don't worry, it's really, really vague. Later on in their conversation, Lucy asks a question about the forbidden level 12, only for the Overseer to immediately dismiss her for asking said question.
You should go now.
I only wanted to...
Goodbye, Goosey.
Bye!
Cut back to Maximus and his power armor. Brotherhood boy is stumbling around the vault and finds the vault's generator and notices a fusion core. The dude thinks it might be a good idea to try and snatch it for his power armor, only to get interrupted by the Shady Sands chick from earlier. She convinces Maximus to lower his guard down and trust in the vault more, giving him a pit boy with a rune number on it. Then we cut to Maximus living the vault luxury life, eating caviar and just fiddling around with all the modern technology in there. As for Lucy, she's wandering around the vault, and we finally get some more info about what happened to Shady Sands, and it's still overtly vague. The scene is just Lucy looking around a classroom, and we only get like a small explanation of the events that happened to Shady Sands this scene, with this big old timeline, with said timeline being overtly simplistic with its explanation. I know about the rule of show don't tell, but this is one of those situations where I at least wish they told a little bit more about this. I've also heard that the date that's under the fall of Shady Sands also screws a bit with the timeline as well. My suggestion is, like, maybe you could have had Lucy, like, walking into the class, like, mid-session or whatever, and, like, getting introduced to, like, what was happening to Shady Sands, and then, like, it gets interrupted with the ritual part. And speaking of which, before we get any more info about a classic Fallout location, we get interrupted with Vault 4 going to have a surface dweller tradition. And then we cut right back to Nagul. Cooper overhears in a heap of trouble for what Lucy did to those drug dealers. Cooper and Bootleg Gizmo are having his big old talk over here, and after a mention about his wife and a discussion about organized crime in the wasteland, Gould has confessed to all the stuff he's been doing in the show. How earlier on he was in a big old shootout over that Enclave dude he was supposed to track down. Yeah, he confesses everything here. So before Gould's about to get executed for his sins, he pulls the badass plot armor stuff he's been doing for all this series and just gets freed by, well...
I don't know.
Bonk! After that scene, Gould notices a face on the poster that belongs to the Raider chick we saw earlier on in the Vault 32 explosion scene. And right after things are about to start kicking up for the plot, we cut back to pre-war USA. In the pre-war scenes, Cooper is getting some equipment to jack into his wife's Pit-Boy to listen into a meeting she's going to be attending later on in the series. And as for Lucy, well, she finds out the vault's full of cultists that are somehow related to Shitty Sands. What?
What the fuck are you doing?
Okay, hold up. When was there any rituals in Shady Sands? Last time I checked, these guys were an actual society of, like, functioning people. Not tribals doing pagan rituals. What?
Why does this not surprise me?
Likewise, Lucy gets scared to hell and back from this ritual scene and goes right back to Maximus to confirm that he was right about this place being full of cultists, but Maximus ain't listening to her. So Lucy, knowing that she's on her own, she decides to check the forbidden level of the vault. Level 12. And this is the start of the scene that everybody was warning me about in my comment section. Well, honestly, I think the water breaking scene was worse.
One wet lady.
Yeah, I get what you guys were warning me about with that whole scene of the lady getting eaten alive by these little piranha creatures that she birthed out or whatever. At least this scene has the excuse of it being horror themed. Say what you want with all the cryo-sleeped woman here, but I think the point of this scene is that it's supposed to be creepy and fucked up. This is Vault-Tec, dude. They're known for doing a lot of fucked up experiments. So Lucy, finding out the dark secrets of Vault 4, she eventually gets captured by the residents there. And then the episode ends.
Well, that was a load of shit.
I know my video right now sounds a little bit confusing with how I'm structuring it, and I would go into the show episode by episode, but that would take way too long. Like, I didn't even mention earlier, like in
Episode 2.
Lucy cuts the head off that Enclave dude after he took a cyanide pill.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, Enclave dude is a MacGuffin. Anyway, let me just summarize episode 7 for you. So we get information that the dudes in modern Vault 4 aren't the ones that did these experiments. They're a victim of these experiments that happened a long time ago. This guy over here getting maimed by the axolotl gulper is actually the culprit of that.
His ancestors were used as lab rats by the original residents of Vault 4 until the lab rats rebelled.
The creature in the video was actually my great-uncle Peter on my mom's side.
My great-uncle Peter on my mom's side.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, the Vault 4 dwellers are descendants of the victims of these horrible experiments, not the other way around. So with the knowledge that Lucy has found out about, she gets banished to the surface in an admittedly funnily executed scene, only for Maximus to think that she's about to get killed, and he goes hero mode on the vault. I mean, Maximus doesn't kill anybody this scene. It doesn't go, you Slayer, return over here. The only thing he kills is the Nuka-Cola machine, only for Lucy to calm him down and tell him, like,
Titus, stop! They're letting me go.
Really?
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry.
Also, something, Maximus stole the fusion core earlier to the power his power armor or whatever, and he gives it back. Yeah, whatever.
I just threw acid in an innocent man's face.
You know what? I think we should move on to episode 8 already, because, yeah, this is where everything gets terrible. For me to say that episode 8 is controversial would be an understatement. So to cut to the chase, the whole bombshell of the episode is that we find out that Lucy's father was actually a freeze-dried douchebag for the pre-war. And the reason why Vault 33 was raided was because that he blew up Shady Sands over a lesbian breakup.
What if I tell you how I know your father? Who he really is? Your mother discovered that something was siphoning the vault's water away. From that one clue, she deduced that maybe civilization had returned to the surface. When she told her husband, he said it was a ridiculous idea. and that she should tell no one.
Lucy, let's go.
And that's when she realized that her husband, the overseer, was hiding things.
Lucy, let's go. Let's get out of here.
So she ran away. Like you did, Lucy. And took her children. And she found this wonderful city that was everything the Vaults had promised.
She is lying.
But then her husband came after her. And when she decided not to return home, he took the children and he burned that city to the ground.
Yeah, it's revealed that Lucy's mother went lesbian for this chick over here, and Lucy's father's response was to say, fuck you for cucking me. I'm gonna blow up Shady Sands. I mean, it's funny, and I did laugh for all the wrong reasons. Again, it just feels like they're spitting in the face of old fans with this scene. Like, really, you could have done better here.
And my day is ruined.
The squabble with the NCR Legion, fucking Lonesome Road. What? Huh? I guess all that stuff in Fallout New Vegas doesn't matter anymore because, well, Lucy's dad got cucked by a lesbian. Anyways, for this video, I got in contact with Ulysses Lonesome Road over here, and we arranged a deal for everybody in the comment section to apologize to him for all the yapping he's done in his DLC, because now he's completely irrelevant to the lore now.
If my life burns out here, so be it.
Also, in episode 8, it's confirmed with a pre-war flashback scene with Cooper spying on his wife that Vault-Tec were the guys that first dropped the bombs. Bruh, she's the one to even say it, like, why?
Based on a hypothetical, how can you guarantee results?
By dropping the bomb ourselves.
I mean, I get what they were trying to do here with confirming a fan fear or whatever, but it just ruined the mystery of the bombs, you know? Like, who fired first? China, US government, corporations, whatever. That was like one of the mysteries that added on to the lore, like, who shot first? That adds on the Fallout's pre-war ridiculousness. Yeah, as copium, I'm just gonna headcanon that Vault-Tec was one of the guys that fired the bombs, and not the guys that fired the bombs first. This episode sucks! We also get a scene of Maximus about to be publicly executed for all the stuff he's been fucking up for the Brotherhood. Only for the tomboy chick from earlier to stand up for him and clear his name for the razor blade boot stuff. And for some reason, they just let him live despite all the lying he's been doing. Even after the Brotherhood dudes find out they gave him a fake version of the Enclave dude's head. Sorry, not sorry. It just feels like a cop-out to have Maximus live longer and appear later on in the show. Also, while I'm on the point of this episode, the whole entire bit of Mr.House getting character assassinated because of him saying like only 3 lines, I wouldn't agree with that. House only has 3 lines of dialogue in this episode, and you could make the argument with him talking about profits destroys his character, but I'll make the justification for it. It's pre-war. Of course he's going to talk about profits. Money is still at some worth of value at this time. There's also the other dialogue he has about rats eating each other when locked up in the cage for too long. You could also make the argument about that and how it applies to his character and how he wants to save Vegas and America from, you know, being exploded to hell and back. Also on the topic of Mr. House, look what they did to Sinclair over here. You guys are talking about Mr. House being character assassinated, but meanwhile, look at Sinclair over here. He got 2 seconds of screen time and he got completely screwed over. Bruh, look at the portrait of him in Dead Money and then look at him in the TV show. Bruh, they aged him up immensely. He's an old, fat man.
What were they thinking?
Mr. House barely gets any time to make his platinum chip shine, but meanwhile, Frederick Sinclair is brutalized for being there. You know it's bad when Chris Avallone himself notices. This episode alone disappoints me because there are things in this show that I do actually like. I did like the Ghoul's pre-war backstory until the end bits with the Vault-Tec stuff. And I loved episode 4 with Lucy and the Ghoul's morals and worldviews being challenged with one another. Heck, the show even had some good comedy bits to it as well. I mean, the Vault 4 banishment scene had me laughing out loud. And do I even need to mention the hilarious scene with Maximus screwing around the T-60?
Chickens.
Still, this like of things is contrasted with things I absolutely dislike about the series. Like Cooper the Ghoul over here. Like, I love this character. I love his backstory. But I hate how stupidly overpowered he is. I've already stated it when summarizing the earlier episodes, but he takes several bullets to the back and doesn't even flinch, kicks a dude in power armor and doesn't even break his foot. And then there's that one scene where he one-shots a bunch of dudes in T-60 power armor because he knows about some mysterious weak point in the armor. You could make the defense for Cooper the Ghoul over here that before the bombs dropped, he was in the military at some time ago, so he might know something about the T-Series model power armor and how they have weak points, but just over and over, he gets out of the most dire situations with the most lazily written ways.
Stop it!
1 time is cool, 2 times it's alright, 3 times overstayed its welcome, 4 times, yeah, you're officially overpowered, dude. And speaking about ghouls, they just make them overpowered in this series as well. Yeah, I know that ghouls are basically sentient zombies that are immune to radiation and have some regenerative capabilities thanks to said radiation fucking with their DNA and stuff. But that one scene where Thaddeus finds out that he's a ghoul now thanks to Dr. McChickenfuck in an earlier scene in episode 7 giving him some medicine, and how he just walks off a fatal wound to his neck. Nuh-uh, no, you're not a super mutant, you're a ghoul last time I checked. You're not scaving that off. And then there's the big Schrodinger's cat that has the status of the NCR after nuking Shady Sands. The only scene that even shows some NCR remnants is this one dude and his son in LAPD riot armor and that one classroom scene in Vault 4. That's it. Maybe they're keeping it as a secret for Season 2 with it being set in New Vegas, which I'm being mixed about hype-wise. On one hand, it might confirm the Mr.House ending to be canon. On the other hand, we have to deal with Mr.House as a character. I'm just going to end the video right here and now. There's a lot more I could talk about, but it would just feel like nitpicking at most. If you like the Fallout show, more power to you. If you didn't like it, then your opinion is also valid. I just think the series was overly mid, and its peak ended at episode 4. Anyways, I've been SF123. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. I just gotta make a point here before I end the video. Screw all you people making fun of Lucy's eyes. I think they make her look adorable. Y'all be mean for the wrong reasons. Another the episode, first guy.